All right, just gonna make sure we plugs in the mic. That's a helpful thing. You learn something every day. So we got that plugged in. Test, test, test. All right, let's do this. I am so excited that you were all so excited about my tea video. Part of me felt like maybe I was gonna do that video and everyone would be like, stick to cooking. But you weren't. You were like, I love tea and I want more of it, which makes me very, very happy. I've loved tea for a long time, and that was the first time I really covered it much in a video. You had awesome questions. I just want to dive right into it. I want to talk tea. Thank you for all the recommendations on teas that showed up in there. But let's just get into this. There's so many good questions. All right, so let's do this. First one here comes from Grunfeld. And he says at point 56, so the 56-second point in the video, the chap squatting with the bar behind his neck seems to have a bit of a wobble as he comes up on his third squat in the clip. Is that a bit of weakness around the left hip joint? Probably a bit late to correct it now though. What? Grunfeld, thank you for looking and watching so closely. I'm gonna pass this along. We gotta do a better job with our archive footage because I don't want sloppy squats in my tea video. Thanks for that, appreciate it. Next up, we've got one from Todd Burdett. He says, what's a good quality source to buy tea? Excellent question. So I have 3 that I really like to go to. There's so many out there, and I hope if other folks have ideas and places that they buy it, please put it in the comments. We can all share. I love this whole tea community we're building. But for me, the 3 that I really love, In Pursuit of Tea, which I mentioned in the video, in the first video, Sebastian Beckwith is the founder there. They do really awesome small batches from family farms all over Asia. Highly recommend them. Mountain Tea, which is mountaintea.com. I really like them for oolongs. They focus in on a lot of competition grade oolongs, and you can divide it up by like green oolongs, which are really like a little grassier and fresher, and I really love, and then darker ones, which are more oxidized and sometimes roasted. So you can get really, once you get deep, you can go really deep. So I like them a lot. And then CC Fine Tea. Jason Chen is the owner. It's out in Seattle. He's Taiwanese, and again, so he has awesome oolongs, but so much more than that. And I mentioned him in the last video as well. So I would check out those 3. They're really awesome, great sources for buying tea. So that's a great question. Next one up, this is an interesting one. I hadn't thought about this before. So this comes from the Onyx Fly. It says, great video. I'm of the belief that salt makes everything better. I would agree with that. Until it's too salty, just at that threshold varies. That being said, lately I've been doing a pinch or 2 if it's a big mug of salt to my tea with good results. Have you tried this? And I haven't. So in the past, I've definitely used a little bit of salt in my coffee. Salt has this incredible ability to mask and kind of cover up some bitterness. It obviously adds like roundness and helps you taste everything else that you're eating. But in coffee, it can be really nice to balance out that bitterness a little bit. Never tried it in tea. I feel like maybe a black tea or a pu'er would maybe the place I would start, but I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try it out. So thanks for the tip. Thank you. You're doing the work. I'm not even doing the work now. This next one comes from William Sean Fisher. It says, so how do you feel about Southern style sun tea? I should have said at the very beginning of all of this that like I love all tea. So I grew up with, like kind of Lipton bagged tea for hot and iced. Still love it to this day. So I love all tea. And so sun tea is all tea, and I love it too. I don't have a ton of experience with it. For me, the times I have had it, it falls for me in the kind of cold brew tea category. It's obviously not as cold as like say doing it in the fridge, but it's lower than normal brewing temperatures. So you're not up in the 175 and up range. And what you end up getting there is, I think we talked about in the video with Lon's iced tea recipe, when you're at colder temperatures, you're first pulling out flavor more slowly. So that brewed for an hour at a colder temperature. But you're also not pulling out all the same stuff. And so a lot of the bitterness and a lot of the tannins come out at much higher temperatures. So what I like about sun tea is you get, and all cold brew methods, is you get something that's a lot more mellow. It's a lot more refreshing, and it's great when it's hot out and that kind of stuff. So yeah, sun tea is great. Next up, this is from Robin T. I think this is an important question for folks who are just learning about the Gong Fu method and kind of want to get involved with it a bit more, is how do you store the used tea leaves between reuse? And so I should have put a finer point on in the video, is that normally this takes place, this whole kind of Gong Fu brewing method, over the course of a morning or an afternoon or an hour or a couple hours. And so you leave the tea leaves right in the teapot, and you go back and you fill it up and you brew again, and you fill it up and you brew again. And you kind of finish the process during that time. So you're not storing them, say, overnight or anything like that. That being said, I have run into the situation where I think I'm gonna have a leisurely morning, and so I'm gonna, brew Gong Fu style, and I start doing it, and I'm like, I have to leave the house, or I have to get up from my desk, I can't be around, or that kind of thing. And what I'll do is I'll take those leaves and put them into a mug or a jar, put some cold water on it, and transfer it into the fridge to do a cold brew to just finish it out. And it's super light. You don't get a ton of flavor out of it. Depending on how many times you brewed it, you might get more or less. But it's really nice, refreshing tea, and that way you're never wasting. You're never wasting tea. I never waste tea. We shouldn't waste tea. But that's a really great clarification question. So I hope you try it. Next question comes from Keith Young. He says, "What is the hot water dispenser that I'm using there?" And so that is that's one of my favorite things. It's a Zojirushi brand. And it has 4 temperature presets on it. I think it's 140 degrees, 175, 195, and 208. Those are all in Fahrenheit, obviously. And I didn't talk a ton about specific temperatures in the video because there are ranges for each type of tea, and there's outliers, and you really should kind of dig deep to figure out what tea it is and at what temperature you want to brew it. But generally speaking, that 140 degree setting is amazing for gyokuro, which was one of the Japanese teas that I mentioned. It's really nice and brewed at low temperatures. And I've seen even people talk about brewing at 120 degrees or even lower than that for a tea like that. So that lower setting is great for that. 175 is wonderful for a big range of white and green teas. 195 is usually a pretty sweet spot for oolongs. So that's where I usually have that thing set, and I'm brewing a lot of oolongs that way. And then 208 I love for black tea. So it's essentially right off the boil, really hot, and you get full extraction of those really oxidized teas. So it's really nice to have those settings. If not, using a thermometer it can be a nice way to do it. But I also really like being a little more flexible with temperature. When you're doing the Gong Fu method and you're brewing, you're gonna taste it. So you're gonna pour it in and you're gonna brew really quickly, taste it, pour it off into a little cup, try it. Oh, it's good. Okay, decant the whole thing and keep going from there. So, I think temperature is important, but for me, I really try to be a little bit more flexible with it. If, I don't have that perfect tea brewer with me, you can kind of look at water and see how hot it is based on bubbles and all that kind of stuff. So just being a little bit looser about it. Tasting. Just like cooking. Taste the whole way through. That's how you get your best results. Man, I just keep going on and on about tea. Well, you guys ask great questions. All right, I got probably another one here. Yeah, I love this question. Mark Ritzman asks, does herbal tea also come from Camellia sinensis, the tea plant? Are we misusing the word tea in the same way that we say Kleenex instead of facial tissue or champagne instead of sparkling wine? And so you totally nailed it there. We're definitely misusing the word in that case. So if it's an herbal tea, the better name for it is a tisane or an infusion. I think it's good that we hold the word tea for the real deal. So you can kind of tell the difference. Normally, and another good kind of way to figure it out is if it's caffeinated, it's probably real tea. And if it's not, it's not, unless it's a decaffeinated tea. It's a wild world of tea. It's just getting confusing now. So anyway, thank you guys so much for all of the questions. I'm gonna be back with another video very, very soon. Not on tea, but I will definitely do another tea video. This excitement for it tells me that you guys want it, and I want to talk about it, and I want to drink it. So again, if you have recs for teas, I would love to hear them. I'm always looking to expand. If you have sites for me to check out, all that stuff, I'd love to see it in the comments. Let me know, and I read those as well. So anyway, thank you guys so much, and happy tea drinking.